ascends the throne. He dies in 1314, just a year after the end of this council. He is no friend. He has a great conflict with Pope Boniface VIII. Boniface VIII, by the way, is the Pope who stands in such disfavor with the poet Dante in the Divine Comedy. He's one of the ecclesiastics, prominent ecclesiastics, who are featured in the bowels of the Inferno. There were other people besides Philip who had problems with Boniface VIII. Dante mainly had problems with him because of his own Boniface VIII's animosity towards his fair city of Florence. Philip wants to get back at Boniface VIII. Boniface VIII dies before Philip can do so. He is interested in extracting revenge even from the grave. He desires to get back at the papacy. And in 1307, he draws up charges against the Templars. The Templars were always very secretive. They had their own rituals of initiation, which one would be cast out from the order if that person revealed anything about the initiation ritual. And so for nearly 40 years before Philip makes his accusation, there were accusations of heresy against the Templars because of their secrecy. Philip cooks up false initiation rites. He has them written on the sly, and then produces these as the genuine initiation rites with all sorts of heretical things in them. So he draws up his charges of heresy against them. And he approaches the Pope, and the Pope promises an investigation. Philip takes his promise as an approval for beginning an investigation, of course. And he begins the investigation by, of course, arresting all the Templars in France on October the 13th, 1307. He loses no time. He conducts a public opinion campaign directed against the Templars as a rich and decadent religious order. And so Philip pressures Clement, the Pope, to approve an inquest into the affairs of the order worldwide, an inquisition, basically, of the order. So that's the Knights Templar, and that's kind of the backstory to the Council of Vienne. It was convoked by Clement V by a papal bull on 12th of August, 1308. So the letters were sent out calling people to this council, and it was to actually begin on the 1st of October, 1310, at Vienne. Only 231 ecclesiastics were invited. There was no general summons to this council. In other words, they picked and chose who they wanted to come to the council. All right? So there's already some politicking going on here. The inquiry, this inquisition into the Templars was not complete by the 1st of October, 1310. Now, usually when we think of Inquisition, we think of it in popular terms. We think of some Spanish cardinal putting thumbscrews on somebody and forcing them to confess to horrific heresies. When in fact, the whole purpose of the Inquisition in the 13th century was to try to provide some sort of legal procedure to avoid the arbitrary accusation of people as heretics, and to provide some kind of structure so that justice could be served, so that people wouldn't be, innocent people would be less likely to be led to the stake. That's one of the reasons why the Dominicans are called upon by the Pope to help out with the Inquisition. Because the Dominicans were generally seen as well-educated, and well-educated not only in theology but also canon law, and so might be able to offer a measure of reason within the trials and tests. But you remember, this is an age that still believed in judgment by
Trial by ordeal.
yeah, trial by ordeal. Thank you. That's the form of words I was looking for. Trial by ordeal. So throwing somebody into a lake to see if they would float or sink to the bottom, and various other sorts of ordeals of this kind. Rather, this is more of a juridical procedure. And as a matter of fact, even though that inquest was delayed the council, so that the council had to defer to open on the 1st of October 1311, a year later than originally was conceived. The inquest came up with nothing. They had no. There were no real. It was decided that there wasn't really any substance to the accusation. The council begins in Vienne on the 16th in France. This is not Vienna. This is France. And 16th of October 1311. Vienne was notionally outside the control of Philip IV. However, he had his troops close by. It was just outside the borders of France at the time. There are 20 cardinals present, 4 patriarchs, 100 archbishops and bishops at the beginning of the council. And in his opening sermon, Clement V states that there are 3 questions of importance for the council: the case of the Templars, the business of the Holy Land, and, once again, the reform of the Church. Most of the bulk of the work of the council was accomplished outside the plenary sessions, the sessions when all of the members of the council would come together, through a consistory of cardinals, that is, a group of cardinals who would meet together with the Pope and form a committee, and along with a committee which was elected by the council fathers from their own body, and which seems to have acted in place of the whole council. The full assembly merely confirmed the decrees and bulls, promulgating them in the 2nd and 3rd sessions. It seemed that this council was unwilling to condemn the Knights Templar without any kind of sure proof. And actually, they preferred to leave the Templars to defend themselves. The question was still resolved in January 1312, so the decision was taken to move on to matters of the Holy Land and reform in the Church. You can't come to agreement, so you just table the motion and move on. That's basically the sense here. However, in March 1312, Philip IV attempts to steamroller the council. In secret negotiations with Clement V, Clement is the first of the Avignon popes. He's a Frenchman himself. He resides in Avignon, well within the control of Philip the Fair of France. The French king has an inordinate amount of influence on the Pope, and consequently, this case shows a kind of reversal of the roles of what happened in the First Council of Lyon, that the secular power has the upper hand in this case. In secret negotiations with Clement V, Philip gains the condemnation of the Templars, probably by threatening public action against the dead Boniface VIII. He trades